Shut up, Brad. You smelly bum. Hi guys, we're here with Dazza. We're gonna do a ban list prediction video, and with us we have, I don't even know who's here. We've got Billy Shiggins, the Altergeist Spieler.
Hello.
We've got Vlad, the Gem Knight Spieler. Bread, the Breadalicious Bread, and FARFA. I think.
Hello.
I don't know if he's still there. Is he there?
He doesn't even play the
So Alright guys, I've got a few questions prepared. So like
preparation.
So
Question
I guess just
FARFA WoW channel? Question mark.
wow. Right.
Wow.
For this format in particular, I think this is like an obvious question. But which deck do you think needs like addressing like immediately?
Yeah.
Everything that uses firewall.
Everything that inflicts burn damage.
Let's try
Anything that inflicts
And
burn
firewall.
Let's try not
And
focus on like.
firewall.
Let's try not
Burning
focus on like
Abyss.
firewall specifically, because I'm pretty sure like we want that like banned. But I just mean like in terms of like decks, like what decks have been like around for too long, you think, or just decks that just need to fuck off in general.
Yeah.
I think anything
Danger
that
FTK.
I think it's anything that prohibits your opponent from actually like having a turn. So there are currently like 3 decks in 2 different regions. In America, you have Gem Knight FTK, you have Goki, and you have
Danger FTK.
Danger FTK. I think they also have the Rongon deck.
Yeah, the
But
wrong
we have 3 of those 4 decks in Europe.
I think
so
I think
essentially-
the wrong got the deck's better there, isn't it?
Probably, but like
Yeah,
the point
you
being
can play
is
it
that
like-
there
You have
are
to
there
play
are
it like
either
a 60
3,
card list here, but you can play it like a 40 card list there.
40 card list there.
Which is a push.
but there are
Yeah.
3 or 4 decks. There are 3 or 4 decks among the Western Hemisphere that prohibit your opponent from actually playing their turn. So there are
Yeah.
effectively 3 to 4 FTK decks.
But then there's like a lot of bad decks that also use firewall, like Mermail and zombies can like extra link hand loop you. Both of them can extra link hand loop and end on the gates and stuff. So like, there's no healthy firewall deck,
Yeah.
you know. Like, and
the-
even like the weak. So
No, go ahead.
Well?
Go ahead, Billy.
I think I think Reincarnation Droll is something that has it's weird because it's very niche and it's very obscure, but like I still think that like
It's still
Again,
pretty good.
yeah, it's something that like again steals wins.
Do you think the Trickstar deck
and
in general should go, or do you think is that just a stab at draw, really?
Stab at
I've
Troll
always-
Reincarnation.
I've always hated Droll as a card. I always like my standpoint has always been that anything with a lingering effect is relatively unhealthy because it acts as a floodgate. So Droll by
Nice,
that
yeah.
stand,
So let's-
is going to be unhealthy.
So let's
Reincarnation-
focus on draw for a second. So like, you say that a card like Draw and Lockbird needs to go, but that's the
Yep.
one card where one of your choices, Danger FTK, fears the most. And if that card wasn't in the format, then that deck would just be like the best.
Yeah, but
with
this
no
is
fear at
basically
all.
what players like Jeff Jones have said in recent videos online that if we're forced to play, just because like we're forced to play like a card doesn't necessarily it doesn't justify its existence. You know, like basically, I don't think that the FTK should be a thing. So I'd rather have to play Draw, but I still don't think Draw should exist either. So I think that all in all, I think that like if I shouldn't have to choose between which one. I should ultimately be able to be given the option that like both should go because I think that they're both problematic. Because as soon as the FTK is dealt with, then you know people will start to try and play the game again. They'll start to deck build. They might use decks that do on some certain extent or another add cards, and Draw's just going to skew that as well.
Yeah, well, someone else then can respond to this question. So, like, if like Draw has to go, I feel like we might need some sort of alternative defensive card, and people scream out for like Maxi to come back. Maxi. Like, do you think that's like a good alternative, or do you think it's just adding more shit to the pot?
No,
More
I'd
shit to the
rather
pot.
just like I'd rather just get everything just fucking hit.
Yep.
I have a collection of maxis.
Like it's
Maxi is
Explain this,
literally
like,
the same as
so
Draw.
many times,
People
and
use-
like the way I see Maxi is like Konami don't have a desire to make a healthy and balanced game. They have a desire to create a profit-driven environment that forces players to buy their products. So we can't expect them to make the game healthy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And for that reason, the next best fix for that would just be having Maxi in the game. Like, I don't think Maxi's good for the game. I don't think Maxi's healthy at all. It's definitely ban worthy. But because Konami don't want to address the broken cards. They don't want to stop releasing overpowered decks, and I feel Maxi should be in the game to like counter that.
Just to counter that argument, so I see the OCG have Maxi and we don't, but their format's no healthier. I don't think that they have like a load of like stupid shit running around there.
They still
as well.
have Goki. They still have all the other shit.
But just imagine they didn't have Maxi, how worse it would be.
I suppose, but like
it's easy to say that, but like if it's still happening, it's just a percentage game.
Yeah, like one single card isn't going to save the format, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
It's an intrinsic like problem with the company, like. And
it's weird though because like if you look at like Utrecht before the FTK was discovered, Maxi obviously wasn't necessary there. You had I think from an outside perspective, it appeared to be like a relatively healthy selection of decks because you had like Altergeist topping, Pure topping, even Goki topped that event, Pendulum I think like topped that event, and it's the same in America. I mean, in America they had Goki, but again that comes down to the existence of cards like Summon Sorceress. But in Europe, like we had decks that Maxi wouldn't have been necessary. So it comes down to simply just those like decks that shouldn't exist in the first place. Decks that they're inevitably going to hit anyway.
It's not like it's impossible for us to have a nice format because like in my opinion, I think Europe 200th was like one of the healthiest formats we've had
the one
in quite a while. And all that took was to make Goki weaker. And
exactly.
And then suddenly we had a nice Sky Striker Altergeist meta, which Sky Striker was deemed as like a healthy mirror match. But unfortunately, with the release of Soul Fusion, we've got like dangers and stuff.
Yeah.
Which have just made the format dodgy again.
I think that card probably Soul Charge could get banned, honestly.
Yeah,
they have to just they have to neuter the combo decks again. Along with that, they probably have to unfortunately ban one of my favorite cards, Armageddon Knight, and Dark Grapher too, because
I feel
they've just reached critical mass. Same thing with Destiny Hero Malicious too.
Yeah.
You know this argument we've had for Soul Charge for the past few years, where it's having it at 1 is really unhealthy because if one person sees it, the other person has such a low chance of seeing it.
Unless it's an engine card.
But there's an argument for having 3. So for years I always wanted Soul Charge to be back at 3 because I was there's nothing you can just end on cool boards, right?
It used to be the case.
Yeah.
I think ending on cool boards back then is very different to the cool boards we have now.
That's what I mean. Now we've come to a point where Soul Charge,
it's just a win button.
It's just a win button, and the fact that there's decks that are designed that their win con is to make 3 Saryujas in a turn and
just draw it.
I remember decks where the combo decks usually were just for OTKs and to put up a few negates turn 1 as sort of a defense. But now it's the way they operate now is just you win that turn. It seems crazy.
The only decks that were unhealthy with it were Sylvans if they opened Lonefire, and Infernity if they opened it.
Anything.
Infernity if they opened the rank 4.
At the time, if Hat wins Soul Charge for what are they gonna do? Bring back a Murmello and pop a back row and bring back their other level 4 and then end on Utopia. Congrats. Nice deck.
I remember when Soul Charge first came out in 2014, it was more like a resource card, if anything. Because other than Infinity, there was no real card that could do something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. I think when you were putting a feeler out for anybody doing a BANLIST discussion earlier, I was thinking about what people were gonna say and they were gonna I imagine most people were gonna and ah about Armageddon Knight I guess needs to go, and it's well, if Armageddon Knight is going, then Dark Grapher has to go. Like Vlad said earlier, Dark Grapher has to go, so does Malicious, and so does Household.
Yeah.
You don't, because everyone's saying no. This is what it's kind of frustrating with a lot of BANLISTs when a lot of BANLISTs come around, because everybody tries to be too smart about it. They always say no, I don't think that's necessary, and it's why are you trying to be too smart about it? Let's just play it safe. You evidently can see that all 4 of those cards I mentioned have been associated with I think 3 of the 4 decks I mentioned earlier, they all need to go, all of them.
It's crazy because with the card pool being so large, there's so many cards that are just exactly the same. Like some problems that come to mind, like you say, is Armageddon Knight and Cannon Soldier, which have loads of cards that are just so similar as well, like Vion, Greffa, and Amazoness Archer and shit like that.
Vion can be like neutered simply just by putting like melee to 2.
Yeah.
Because like
even just hitting melee.
Like the broken thing with like Armageddon Knight was the fact that one Armageddon Knight got you into another Armageddon Knight, which got you into like Summon Sorceress, which got you into Summon Sorceress, summoning like Cannon Soldier or Steam or Zephyros, vice versa. And you just like you just get way too many pluses too quickly. And unfortunately, like since that like Konami physically just can't do anything to Firewall Dragon, it's just like untouchable. They have to just hit everything around it. It's just unfortunate because the printing company is actually like not printing. I'm sorry. The NAS or whatever, like the anime company or whatever, they're just like extremely like dumb and stubborn and just like impossible to work with. So like even Konami might be put in like a bad like situation because of this. So like they might not have too much control over it.
But
it's still like but it's still inexcusable that like their R&D doesn't find things like, oh, Gemini FTK is like still possible. Like this Goki deck is still possible, and there's like, oh no, let's ignore that. No one will play it. No. Like,
I think to be fair, I'm not sure. Like, this is like based on an uneducated standpoint of like how big and how developed and how much time the R&D time spends on like trying to solve everything. But I think it is, I can empathize with the fact that how hard it can be to regulate every single deck that exists in the game.
Because their R&D team is quite small, right? From what I hear.
Yeah. So like, when you're trying to like, I don't know how many other people have like tried to regulate a custom format, but like doing it for a short period of time, I've seen that like sometimes there can be oversights. You'll be so fixated on one problem that you'll be okay. Like it's such a glaring issue that makes everything else look fair. So you'll deal with that one issue. Then, but for Gemini FTK, for example, that could have been someone who spent an excessive amount of time that a company can't afford to spend trying to like fix its problems. So the FTK probably came about, and then Konami probably
all
thought,
of this is fixable just by like having communication with the player base. Which
no, of course, that's a massive.
Like, because they're competing against a massive number of players, right? Because like they have a small R&D team that have an X amount of time to like find problems, and then where you've got like their entire fan base that have all the time they can put into it just to find something silly, and that's how the Danger FTK was born, because somebody just so happened to have free time and then just found it.
Like in fairness, like these type of degenerate things also happen in Magic the Gathering, and like Magic the Gathering is meant to have this like insanely good like R&D team, and like shit like still like slips through the cracks.
But
it's
have,
gonna happen. It's always gonna happen. But when you leave a card like Firewall in the game, it just makes it so much easier for people to find these stupid things.
So there's a video on YouTube that I shared, I think last year or 2 years ago, where Wizards of the Coast, or one of the head guys from Wizards, essentially did like this 20 lessons, 20 whatever points, right, about how they have learned from their mistakes as a company, but a lot of it came from how they respond to the actual community itself and how they actually communicate with the community. And like that's one of the biggest, like as I said, like it's like this is the biggest issue as well, is that we're not being able to communicate with the company, because I think the reason why that is because they have to communicate among like however many clusters of sub factions within like this entity to just get a ban list done. And it's like they're not going to go. It's not like one company. It's not one solid office that went, we all personally agree on these decisions. I think the communication and transparency from that company is probably the least of their concerns.
It's because they have so many branches, right? Because like it's not just Konami, like Vlad said. It's like a branch of so many things that like want one thing, but the game demands the other.
It's like the design company or something like that designs the arts or some shit like that.
Yeah. One thing that just comes to mind for me is like people are always like saying how like Firewall's the glaring problem with the game, which I do admit like is one of the issues. But you've got like pseudo FTK decks like the Rongo deck and the Gemini FTK deck that just don't use Firewall at all.
Yeah.
So it just like
No, of course, but like, I think if you were to look at like if you were to create a list, essentially, do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like if you were to tier all the problems, Firewall has been a part of like, the tier 0 spiral format. It was part of Goki. They made Goki a deck. It made this a deck, and Firewall resulted in cards like Samsara Lotus being banned and AS Alt Core being limited preemptively. Like nothing else has done that. But I do agree that like, and this is what I was trying to go back to earlier, was like everyone is probably thinking that Assault Day is not a problem card and stuff like that. And I think that like when I say I want to play it safe and just remove everything, you don't just remove like Armageddon Knight, Greffer, and Mali, because there's also now no one's thinking about like what's coming ahead. And in the OCG, obviously they have Savage Strike, which has the new Neos monster, which is going to tutor Aqua Dolphin out of the deck. So essentially, you'll have a new starter card that snipes a hand trap and starts off a new, overly bombastic combo.
Yeah.
And again, just regresses the game into another uninteractive game.
Yeah.
Mm.
But like, I think
even, like, looking
one
back at,
issue is just the genericness of Firewall as well, and just the Link monsters in general. Just make every deck just appear to do the same thing.
See the fact that like the like FTKs exist without Firewall, like just shows like they don't have any idea how to make cards fair and like how to just make good cards for Yu-Gi-Oh without just making them busted. Like that's the problem. Like they've just like they keep like, in order to sell a new product, they just keep printing more powerful cards, and like that's unsustainable because like where do you stop like just printing more and more powerful cards? Like they have to take a step back and just like figure out a way to sell cards that doesn't involve just printing new powerful ones.
Yeah, like the urban myths I've heard from like R&D office. It's not even urban myths. Some of them I've heard from Jerome McHale like over a stream where he said. So the first example was Jerome McHale said that the True Draco monsters were initially spell speed 4. So that you couldn't respond to their effect.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's
fair. Like the fact that they have people working there that even suggested that. Like someone actually working in R&D was like, why don't we do this? Like how can anyone even non-ironically suggest that as a good possible thing? Like, okay, great, it didn't make it out of R&D for no reason, but it's like, how do you even suggest like let's put spell speed 4 monsters in the game that can pop that crow and stuff?
I heard
like
this too.
Like stealth.
I know they all just search.
It's not even a rumor. Like it's Jerome McHale saying it on a stream. Like the words left his mouth. Do you know what I mean? Like he's like responsible to some extent.
Is this like the Draco rumor where like you couldn't respond to the spells and traps?
Yeah,
that's what you just said.
The effects of the monsters. It's the monsters that like put the cards on the field. That was. Another one was Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier used to have a discard cost, but they removed it because they thought it was too unfair. Which is wild. Which is
you
wild.
could discard 2 and it was probably playable.
Yeah.
Discard your whole hand. Just you win. Doesn't matter. Discard your whole hand to win the game. Okay, sure, no problem.
But like for the Firewall thing, like even looking back at a format that was like relatively okay for like Euros format, where you had like Goki, Sky Striker, Trickstar, like Pendulum.
The format was not okay.
Yeah,
but like
it wasn't linking. No. It
wasn't okay because of Goki. It wasn't okay because of Goki. Okay, like I that was the deck I was playing. Like I understand how ignorant it was. But like
you didn't even get to play Euros.
I judged it. Anyway, if you look at like now where there's like 3 FTKs, like Goki being an FTK, if you look even off that format, like the 2 other decks that were using Firewall weren't even like doing anything insane, but it still just won them the game. Like making Firewall like in the middle, and then the Trickstar being able to OTK with Lilybell. Like neither of them were insane, but it was the fact that 3 of the 4 decks like.
Well, no, that is insane. That still is.
But it's the fact that, but like not compared to Goki. But the fact that 3 of the 4 decks in that format abused Firewall, and they still were like, nah, let's keep it in the game.
That was just taking the focus off Firewall for a bit. Like there's other Link monsters that people have complained about, and like just the sheer nature of the Links being able to do U-Links. And also stuff like...
I just want to say one last thing about Firewall, right? Like, So there has to be like I refuse to believe that Konami's just this like big evil like horrible entity, right? There has to be one like actual good person there who's like properly like talking to Shueisha or TV Tokyo, whoever it is, and saying like, look, this Firewall Dragon is like, we need to like ban like 20 cards or Firewall. Like you need to like compromise with us here, right? So I don't know. Do you think they could just like? Well, obviously they can't just like not like listen to them because I'm sure they have like legal reasons and stuff like that. But do you think like maybe like we could just get like an errata? Like, do you think they could errata once per turn?
It does what it does in the show, unfortunately.
Like in the show, he never uses it more than once.
Yeah, and you know, in 70-something episodes the show's been going for, Firewall has been used 4 times, and it's used its effect to bounce an opponent's Goki monster like once, and like summon a fucking dual sandworm or something like that. It's never been used more than once per turn. Like, it's just been, here's my Firewall. And in one episode, the Firewall was used to make a decode talker. It doesn't do anything. So like the irony behind the whole backstory behind Firewall is crazy, because like they are just shoveling these new like boss or like ace monsters, quotation marks, down people's throats, because Firewall has been very sporadically used. Then they started shoving Cyber's Magician down people's throats, then Cyber's Clock Dragon, and now they'll be doing it with Cyber's Quantum Dragon, just because like they're different summoning mechanics that have synergy with Link monsters, essentially. So Firewall is just not being used in any of these videos.
Like, unfortunately, when I went to Japan, it's like it was just so obvious to me that this card is never gonna go, just because like for all the like Yu-Gi-Oh like establishments and stuff, it was just poster boarded everywhere. Like Firewall was just everywhere, and I was just looking at this like, Jesus, it's never gonna go, just because it's the poster boy of Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and they've invested so much money just to advertise Firewall Dragon, and it's just it's ludicrous.
I will say, like, you know,
it'd be like Juventus not selling a number 7 jersey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we'll just not play Ronaldo, you know.
Like Nadir was saying, you know, there has to be someone that's like talking to somebody about X and Y. Like, it's weird because like there's even I think a disparity between the 2 offices in Western and Eastern, because here's 2 more rumors and I'll actually be done then. These are the only 2 I know, but these like point out just the difference in mindset between the OCG and the TCG. So the first one is the OCG initially had all the Necros cards designed without once per turn. So, and then Matt Bell was like, no.
What? So Necros Bryo just bounce.
Bounce. It could be, I think
and
so.
And it
or
keep
like
searching
Val
as well,
could,
like Engage. Bryo discard add.
Trish,
more or less.
Trish.
Or negate Trish. And so, and then this is the more poignant point. So the Western office obviously designs all the TCG exclusives. So they designed every single Spiral card. I think I've told you guys this before, but I'll say it for the sake of the stream. They designed all the Spiral cards, and then the OCG went, ta-da! This is Spiral Double Helix. We're going to put it in the new OCG Extra Pack. And they were like, we don't think you should release that card. Oh, you've released it. Oh, okay. This is Matt Bell said this to me at Euros. Yeah, he told me this at Euros. I was just like, oh my word. So like OCG they have like full autonomy of like how things are run.
Yeah.
And like they just do stuff, and you know, they get a say of like how things run here. And yeah, so ultimately our game's fucked because of their mindset. Look at what they create.
On the topic of like R&D and TCG imports, like a friend of me and Vlad's plays World of Warcraft with like Matt. And
you play WoW, Billy?
No, I don't. One of our friends does.
Oh.
Today's to line him, I guess. But he, I remember him. He was telling me about. He was talking to him one day, on how when Photon Shockwave came out and they printed Rescue Rabbit and Lagia and Dalka, R&D said that they completely had an oversight that anyone would have the idea to play Rabbit in the same deck as level 4 dinosaurs to summon these insane boss monsters.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, we just thought they'd be used in dinosaur decks. And like, yeah, then the best deck of the format was made. because
No,
of the
no.
glaring
Wind up,
overflow.
man. Wind up.
Wine.
No,
Wait, no. Wind up was after.
Just the start of the film.
Yeah, sorry.
Rabbit
This is
was the
2011. Yeah.
No, like when Rabbit just came out.
Right.
And then, like,
just
the
to finish off.
Who the
this
fuck's moving
topic-
around like that? Stop it.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
Brad.
Oh,
Just
oh,
to
it might be
finish-
me.
Just to finish off this topic, I think like with about the mindset of TCG and OCG, I think OCG design their stuff more for fun because they don't have organized play, so they're not really competitive. They just do whatever the fuck they want because it's fun, you know. But like,
But they shouldn't. If that's the case, then they don't have as many sanctioned events. Then when, the Western office, I don't know if they have these like quarterly meetings or whatever they do. They should be saying like, your approach is different to our approach.
they don't get
And
that. They
your
don't
card design is
understand.
Yeah,
They-
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because I'm not gonna say like, well, make them understand, but like, it should be like, I mean, they should trust the Western Hemisphere to run the game, not like, oh no, you can't do that. It takes away the fun. It's like you're actually removing the fun by leaving them there, like, or like putting them there in the first place, like.
Yeah.
Like they
stop.
probably try a lot more than we give them credit for. Like,
no,
I don't
they,
Yeah,
they
I
do,
know,
they
but,
do.
like-
they try really hard. It's just,
But yeah, I
it's
know.
really hard
Really
for
hard
them
to
to like
maybe.
manage a game that's not in their control.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I don't know. It's just like Konami JP is like the big evil. Sad as it is.
Double
Like,
Helix used to summon from the binder before testing.
Jerome's like scratching his head, like, "Oh, this is a little
Oh.
bit too good."
But anyway, Jesus Christ. So what I was going to mention was cards other than Firewall that are just unhealthy for the game. Shit like Gumblar and Trigate, if those weren't in
Yeah.
the game, like...
Oh yeah. Those are fair picks. I've already said Droll, but like I've
I'm mostly just thinking about like Link monsters, like because the combo decks are all just about Link spam, right? And their
Yeah.
end boards are always like Trigate or Gumblar, and I think they're just like problems for the game as well, and summon
What
Substrate
about-
as well.
But see, the thing
Yeah.
is, though, if you take away these like crazy Link monsters, what does that like? What do you do with the Link mechanic? Like,
Exactly,
it doesn't do
like you
anything,
need
right?
some sort of
No, you
defensive
just have like
cards. Like I think ending on a defensive card's fine. Like remember rank 4s when you ended on like a Dweller or I can't think of any other defensive rank 4.
Just-
but like
Fucking Zen mains, mate. Like,
yeah, like just something like that'll just keep not so you don't die. Like that was Yu-Gi-Oh back and forth, but now it's just Gumblar for 4. Like I think Trigate by itself is fine, but when it's paired with a U-Link and a Gumblar for 4, it's just stupid.
I mean, that's
Well,
the
like-
thing, though. Like, Trigate's like designed to be like U-Link, right? Because like just
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
it
yeah.
points and stuff.
Yeah.
Just the way it points is like you can tell like that's what they wanted it to do.
Yeah,
Even
so-
Gofu is ridiculous. Like the whole notion of just like currently, but like when Gofu was like first played in Link One, the fact that you just went Gofu, summon 2 Link Spider, make decode, that was just like okay, like from this decode I can now make my Synchro and XYZ plays. It wasn't like now where it's like if Gofu was in the game, you'd probably like extra Link your opponent.
Yeah.
Like there was
Yeah.
a point. There was a point when the Link mechanic was just there to tutor the other like extra deck summon things. But then as the anime progresses, they had to make links relevant. So they kept
Yeah.
making cards that say, while this card's co-linked, your
Win
opponent does 12k damage, and it can't be negated.
Yeah, I get to a point as well where they'll like force Cyburst as well down people's throats. I feel anyway, just like because obviously new product. Because I was talking about this recently with somebody, how long it took for them to make Pendulum like actually insane. Because for the longest time, like Pendulum was like good because they had like Klee, but it was like a stun deck that happened to have like one of the most insane summoning mechanics. Kind of like, oh yeah, it's an option, but it wasn't like the driving force that made it like insane. It was like, oh, it was still part of it, but like it took like about over a year since Pendulum came about before like it was
Or, like,
insane.
Pep-
Like
Yeah.
yeah. So like it could be the same. I mean, to be fair, like I don't know. I don't think that the argument really stands as much as I like to, as I thought at once. I first thought because like the link mechanic came out. Like the link mechanic came out and was a problem, or like created problems from the moment it was like, released. Because we went straight from like going, yeah, I'm gonna turn my 2 Link Spiders into a Mrs. Radiant with my Trickstar deck, into now I've got Sleeper, Firewall, Ib, fucking whatever else, double Firewall.
Or in my case, it was overlay into Invoker, summon Armazonis Archer from the deck. I'm going to make triple Firewall Dragon, and then to kill you. Like,
So yeah,
like as soon as Code of the Duelist came out, there was an FTK with the card, with the first set with flanks.
Sorry
That
to
is
disturb you guys.
unacceptable. That is appalling.
Yeah.
Like,
I muted myself so I could eat chili. I just
Nice.
coughed. I got chili all over.
You monk.
Good job.
alright, Billy.
I think like another issue is just the nightmares in general, because like
Yeah.
I love the
Nightmares are
nightmares
amazing.
because their utility is just so cool, but like as part of like a ladder for you,
And
The
it-
protection
it's
effect
so
was with it.
bad. Like
The Yuling,
untargetable,
the
not
protection
destroyed by
effect
battle.
shouldn't be there.
Like yeah, like if they
Yeah.
just had the utility, like if Goblin just had the extra normal summon, Cerberus just had the pop, Phoenix just had the pop as well, they'd be so cool and good.
Even then,
utility.
I would have liked to have seen. Even then, I would have liked to see the materials be like 2+ monsters and stuff, not like just like random tokens and just like shit that's like left over. You know, like it's
It's
really
like-
easy to make.
basically, like for what is a generic Link 2 monster, you get so many fucking perks for those cards. Like, so they tried to create drawbacks, which is fucking hysterical because like, oh,
What were the
discard-
drawbacks? Oh, the
Is
arrow
that-
pointing, maybe.
No, and discarding a card. Like they think that discarding a card is like enough. Honestly, they could have not given
Discarding
me the
a card
option
is like actually like the best part.
Yeah, but also like they,
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
like they try and incentivize you to fucking U-Link with 2 effects. Like, you know, like, oh yeah, if it's co-linked, by the way, it can't be killed by card effects. But also, if it's co-linked when you use this effect, you draw a card when you after you discard. So don't worry, you won't be minusing too hard.
Like I think
like,
if it didn't
What do
have
you mean?
the
Like,
restriction, if they didn't have not destroyed by battle, not destroyed by card effect, and can't be targeted, like it
Yeah.
would be just like child's
Fine.
played out the U. But since they have that sort of
Yeah, you
floodgate
just go like
restriction-
Regeki Darkhold or something.
Yeah, you could counter for that, right? You can side for it, but now that they end on like, not only do they end on that, they also have a Trigate as well, just in case you do
Yeah.
have some sort of out. It's just stupid.
If the nightmares only protected themselves, that would be fine, probably, right?
Yeah, I
yeah, I
imagine
mean,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
whatever, like, but that'd be fine. But it's just the fact that like.
I think the way they made them was like, oh, the arrows are actually really shit on like Cerberus and Phoenix. Like if you make it, like maybe that's
Yeah,
what they were thinking.
Yeah,
But it's
they're
really
only
not
good
a
in the
big
main
deal.
monster zones. Yeah,
Mm.
like
A lot of
the,
my
the other
locals-
like the other problem with like the Link summoning mechanic just as like a whole is just that like when we had like XYZs and stuff, you wouldn't be going XYZ into XYZ or whatever unless you're playing like some dumb like combo
Yeah.
deck or whatever. Whereas in like this like in Yu-Gi-Oh currently, it's like the Link monsters let you make more Link monsters, which
Yeah.
also let you make more Link monsters, which is just like not good.
They
That's
all just
terrible.
ladder.
Like
They all just ladder into each other. That's
Yeah.
why Izalde is like a big problem, because like
The
you
way
know,
I've
it's just,
always described it is like you can know from like instantly as soon as they made links like, oh, this is overpowered. Like because like if you put it in this perspective, right? Like imagine they were releasing a summoning mechanic where you could overlay into XC summon. You could overlay a 2 and a 5 monster into Exciton your opponent's board, and then overlay the Exciton and some random monster into a big eye. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of like how links work. Like because they're so versatile.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they can go anything goes into anything.
And it's like they tried to like really sell, or like they must have thought like when they first initiated the rule change, everyone must have thought, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to summon from the extra deck like I used to ever again.
Yeah,
And they must have thought- they must have
whoops. Oh,
they must
boy,
have
boy, were we wrong.
They were like, oh man, we need to like really incentivize these players to link summon. We need to
Yeah.
convince them that link summoning is going to be fine. So like every link monster has like 3 or 4 effects. Like so
Like every archetype,
they like
every
they-
archetype
they
like
summon-
specific Link 2 does something like most of them do something
Absurd.
really ridiculous.
Outside of their own
that's-
archetype is the important thing.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Phantom Quartz. Phantom
I
Quartz
think
did everything
Dragon
in his
is
own
huge.
extra.
Shout out
About
to
how
the
like
Quartz.
the state of the game now and cards in like there's too many links that interact with the deck, right? So if you look at like link frames, you got Electromite as Court, Cherubini, Needle Fiber, Jasmine, there's something else. Alistair. Like everything interacted with the deck, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, that's unhealthy because like if I can stick 2 monsters on board, it means I can access whatever I want in my deck, and that's not what a game should let you do.
I like
the
how
first-
someone actually figured out what the problem with the game was a while ago. Like someone wrote, like, so people were talking about like what the problem with the game was,
Yeah.
and like if the extract didn't exist, this would be a completely different game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no. The game changed when cards from the extract started interacting with your main deck. The first one is Zen Mighty.
Shout
And
out
that
to
card
the
gave a hand loop.
terrible card.
That card, the first card in Yu-Gi-Oh! From your extract that meant it was accessible with any 2 level 3s was a hand loop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody
And
was
then
fucked.
what have
Like,
we
you used
gotten since then?
When
We got,
synchros first came out, you used to just summon like good utility
Like starters
synchro monsters,
passed.
right?
but like, yeah, people were like librarian formulas saying you get to 2 cards. I'm like, wow,
There was no
My
like engine
nightmare
card
combo lets me
synchros from what
extra,
I
like-
remember, right? There wasn't really any synchros to help you extend other than like
Yeah.
librarian and formula, which are like the
Librarian,
anomalies because
yeah.
they just draw your cards and
came-
stuff. But
Like maybe Power Tool was like used in like specific
Nah,
equip decks. No.
it
No,
wasn't.
there was
No.
no good equips.
Yeah.
yeah,
Took ages.
Pow too. Shit.
But I think me and Vlad talked about this on a train once, right? There
Probably.
was a Japanese deck that played in like the pre-YCS tournaments in Japan, and that deck had like 11 cards in the extra deck that interacted with the
Main deck.
main deck. It was like the wind-up links as a guy from deck, Summon Sword, Needle Fiber, Cherubini, Invoker, Mermaid. I think that's a sorry, but like literally just every card on it. Like summon the guy from your
Yeah.
deck, the guy from your deck.
That's
Which,
the
like,
real cancer shit.
Yeah, when you can throw a card, when you can put 2 cards on your field into another monster, that monster replaces any monster from your deck, you're just gonna get like stupid
Yeah.
payback.
Like, think of all the combo decks if they didn't have Isolde, if they didn't have fucking Curious, if they didn't
Yeah.
have Quartz. Like,
Yeah.
they wouldn't do as much. It's just because these cards just say, summon from deck for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
Like extra deck monsters that say like summon favor.
yeah.
Cool.
Ooh. Wait,
Or,
was
like,
what's the card called now? What's the lion? The ice barrier.
Duloran.
See, wasn't DeLorean like one of the first degenerate loops, or was that like after
No,
Exceed
yeah, it was like-
starting?
it was
All the
like-
ice barriers were
Brian
broken,
X-
right?
it's like the
Brian
fish
Echoes,
FTK or something, right?
Yeah,
DeLorean just replaced Briar.
yeah.
Like,
So,
Briar
yeah.
was unhealthy.
But like those like that was like one of the first. Well, I'm not too sure. Like, they didn't really interact with the deck, but it allowed you to reuse stuff, right?
No,
Yeah.
it interacts with the deck. The fact that you kept bouncing future.
Oh, yeah. That was one.
And it was like Heritage got you this equip spell that was like symbol of heritage, and that.
Like the
Oh,
game's
yeah.
always been broken, basically. Right?
Yeah.
No, just if cards didn't say
No.
from the deck, and if they all said once per turn, Yu-Gi-Oh would be insane. It would be so.
People just look
Nah.
back on like past formats with like rose tinted glasses, right, and just think, "Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh was so good back then," but it wasn't. It was just as fucked.
Ever since Wind Up came out,
Maybe it's just that the game sucks. Question mark.
More Wind Ups
Nah.
today.
Maybe it's a bad game.
Right, so one
It
of
was-
get each of your opinions on this. Like, what would you like to see going forward for the game once a ban list is implemented after YCS Pasadena?
What do you mean?
Like,
In terms of what do we want to see on the list?
like
How
what,
do we-
like what would you want to go on the list, and what sort of format would you like? Would you want it to like evolve into?
Am I answering first? I guess I'll answer first.
Which
I
whichever.
guess so. So, like I said earlier, I want all the dark, like the whole dark toolbox to go. It enables too much.
Armor
I
and
also-
Mali in that, right?
Yeah, armor.
Yeah.
So armor again, like Dark Grepher, Malicious, Isolde. I even want to see something like Aqua Dolphin potentially get a hit, which sounds a bit preemptive or a bit like premature. But like when you read that Neos connector thing,
Yeah, Connector and Aqua's crazy together.
yeah. So like potentially that. I mean, the burn cards potentially depends on which ones. If you want to go to that extent, to be honest. Obviously Firewall, but like you'd never see that happen. So it's those. That's my initial thought. I would also like to see Draw and Lockbird banned. I would like to see. The problem is, like, it go on for ages. One, like, there's a lot of cards, like floodgates, like Rivalry goes in. I feel like anything that prohibits the player from playing is unnecessary. But like we've had those for a long time, and so that won't change either. So the initial thing would be that, and then like I would like much like Darren, you'd probably agree. Like the best formats are the formats that have a combo deck that can also play the control.
Yeah.
So it'd be something that evolves into that. I don't think Sky Striker is that deck.
If we get a Dragon Ruler mirror format or a Necros mirror format, or like even in like a Zoo mirror format, like I'd really enjoy like formats like that. But when you've just got like one combo decks that just like FTK each other turn one, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, like, I don't mind it being a 1 deck or a 2 deck format as long as I'm able to actually like play and be able to like resource manage, get with my opponent and like have that rewarding game experience.
Yeah.
So essentially that.
Because the game has potential to be like really good. It's just on a path right now, which is just really unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, anyone else?
I made like I basically wrote down all the ideas while Brad was talking. So for myself, it'd be like all the like. So since that they can't hit Firewall, it'd have to like work around. So this would probably be like something what like Konami would do probably, but like so it'd be like. Well, hopefully what they would do anyway. So, like, banning Archer, all the Cannon Soldiers, Shadow Priestess of Ohm, just all those cards that just say, Tribute to Burn.
Any limit, or driver.
Was it?
Any mass driver card.
Yeah, like any of those mass driver like type cards. And then maybe something with the Flare Metal Galenduro thing, but I hardly see that happening either.
Summon Sorcerer.
Yeah, but we're getting in a special edition, so we're not going to hit it because they're Mongs. And then the other cards I have on my list to get hit is Gumblar, Armageddon Knight, Greffer, Soul Charge, Malicious.
I also missed that.
You know what's so sad? It's that you're not even wrong. Any of like naming off like 10 cards that you banned.
They literally just have to go. You know.
No, that's just what the game is. It's just ridiculous.
Know, right?
Then we have like Rongaminia, maybe Curious. Curious is a big offender, by the way. Curious is retarded. That card should not exist.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a light tap to Strike Striker, a light tap to Altergeist, and a light tap to T-Dragon. But I don't see the T-Dragon one happening.
Yeah, I agree with all those two. I forgot to mention.
I forgot what other decks in the format, by the way, because I'm just like, oh, there's only FTK decks, right?
yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Like
I forgot that Striker and Altergeist existed. Like
if you leave Striker and Altergeist alone, then they could potentially be like, I don't know. I don't think there's any issue with leaving them alone because like. The decks that you can like just enjoy having like a mirror match with people with, and then when you play a combo deck, you're like, oh god, I've got to like set like 3 Widow Anchor and have like poor resource management just to stop this stupid combo deck.
Mm.
And if you make them weaker, then like the combo decks don't really get weaker because everything the control decks get weaker too. So then the combo decks are still like an alternative.
Yeah.
Another
potential thing is banning Grapha. That's all I'm saying.
Here's
so sad.
I don't feel like they will because like I feel like Dark Worlds is a deck that's just my favorite deck. They'll never like obviously they won't never hit it, but as in like they're gonna want to print future support for the deck. So
yeah, true.
They also have to do a Dark World revamp, a reloaded structure deck.
Oh shit, so they do.
So they won't. Yeah.
Or they can ban old Grapha and print a new Grapha. That's what I'm saying.
A brand new Grapha.
A controversial, unpopular opinion would be like the cautious eye on Boral Sword Dragon, because I haven't
5.
OTKs are fine. Who gives a fuck? It's if like if you
I just
get
say like
OTK'd,
I've
whatever,
seen a
at
lot.
least you got to play turn 1. The problem is
Activate
not being
Mirror
able to
Force.
Yeah,
I know, yeah, but like I've seen a lot of it recently, and I didn't know if it was like something that people probably would agree with, but like it is fine.
It's only 5, right?
No, I think 4. I think 4, but you have to have another monster to switch to offense.
Billy, do you have any thoughts to put forward?
Did you want to go ahead? Or?
Like, what would you like to see?
I mean, Vlad did a really good job in naming the specific cards. So I won't go, like,
it's not even specific. Name a list.
Yeah. Like, so I won't go into cards and stuff, but like, I don't know what the solution is. I think like. I can't remember who said it, but it was really actually quite smart. I never thought about it that way, but like extra deck monsters that interact with the main deck, like generate.
It does, Billy. Yeah.
Like, I never like really thought of it that way, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
But in general, like I don't know, like I think they just need to like try and shift towards some kind of like format where the most powerful combo deck would just be like I don't know, like Dragon Ruler level, which is insane to think about, but like just putting up 2 kind of beaters like turn 1, like I feel. Is like the extent to which combo should go rather than multiple negates.
A combo deck should be able to just pump out enough like resources to OTK somebody, not end on an unbreakable stupid
Yeah, like the
FTK.
hand loops and stuff definitely need to stop. Like I'd like to see like Altergeist or something just be like probably one of the top decks, because then that probably shows that the meta is like slow, and it'd be nice to have something a bit slower again. I mean, it's been like 2 years.
Unfortunately, like
We haven't had
Altergeist is
anything
just a
slow.
shit deck, so
Yeah, like we
like,
haven't had like a
if we
slow
have a deck
format.
like Altergeist, like a deck that is not as bad as Altergeist, but like the same idea as Altergeist, the best deck, that'd be really cool for the game. It's just that Altergeist is just shit. Like it's fucking gash. Like it's
I
so
just wish Geist Dragon just
terrible.
had like more engine cards. It's just like
Yeah,
it's like Monarch mirrors. Like if you could play like a good Monarch mirror, but like you could just brick.
you could also just brick. Yeah.
Yep. I like the point that someone just put in the chat. Actually, Call by the Grave is a card that I actually really don't like. Because
fuck that card.
when you look at like, so you look at the Pendulum FTK format, right? One of the things that people tried to actually do was like they were like, oh fuck, well I have to play like hand traps. I have to play like Ogre and Ash, so I don't get fucking FTK. Like that just ups the variance, and it was awful. It's just awful. Like I remember, so we were watching Luke win Euros as well. It's like the same thing. His hand gets generated onto the fucking stream, like the card by card, and it was literally Goki extender, and we're like, oh, he got combo, and then bing, Call by the Grave. We're like, yep, he's won.
He's done it. Yep.
It's really sad because like you just knew like from the beginning, like just opening hand. Like you should never be able to look at someone's opening hand and tell if like what the outcome of the duel is.
Yeah,
you know?
Yep.
That's been around since like.
Like they could have like a busted free. They could have a busted
Goki
free of in their hand, right? Like one of a free of, and you'll think, oh, my money's on that guy because his hand is slightly better.
One card I forgot to put on my list is a ban called By the Grave, by the way.
Yeah.
Fuck that card.
But like to be fair, I think we've all lost games where we've opened Exodia.
Yeah.
Like your opponent can just open the counter Exodia.
No, I know,
thanks,
but like,
Billy. Thanks.
Oh yeah, Vlad at an LDS against me opened like the stones. I'm playing Goki going second, game 2, and he's got like,
I've got like Ash.
Reincarnation,
I've got
Lycra's
Ash Droll
Astral,
Reincarnation. Yeah.
and my hand is Terratop, Call by the Grave, and Ash for the Reincarnation, and
Call Ash.
And then that's when I came 5th at the LDS, and then I didn't get my qualification. Yeah.
I did at times. So Nadir was thinking Vlad was a sociopath with his, and I'm like a complete nihilist when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! I think like half the cards need to go right. So like, me and Brad had a late night discussion once that cards like Artifact Lancia, cards like D-Barrier, Maxi, Droll,
yeah, this is what
you
we're
can't
talking about,
do something. Yeah, cards that say you can't do anything until the end of said turn.
Yeah, so as I said at the
Okay.
start of the stream, as I said at the start of this stream or this video, I don't like anything that has a lingering effect. So they started with Droll. Oh, no, actually started with Maxi. Droll, Maxi. A bit like Biswell is a bit different, but like Lancia. And one thing that I had to laugh.
I think what I like.
Yeah.
I don't think
But,
it
like,
will go.
I had someone laugh at me when I said like Lancia, and I said, okay, so you're gonna play a Dragon Ruler Mirror, and you draw for turn, and someone just pops a Lancia on the table. Like, I mean,
But, like,
back then you could probably afford to pass, but like now it'd be like, imagine you playing a mirror match where like it like involves using that mechanic, and they plop Lancia on the table. Your turn effectively ends, and you need to have Lancia to stop them from killing you. So just like it increases variance as well.
Well, that was like there was even if you look at Necros, it was like Lancia wasn't insane because it was like, okay, you Lancia your opponent, and then they can try and kill you, and you can't Valk them back.
Yeah, or you could just like add a Valk and just pass.
Yeah, and they can still just go like, or they can go Valk Tribute, Valk Monster, add Valk Pass.
Yeah,
And like they've set up their grave for next turn where they can banish cards.
yeah, it was
and,
just
like,
predominantly used to like kind of
But if you played
falsely
in
bait you
Inferno,
into Trish.
if you played Inferno, then you'd never Lancia. It was like, hard.
Yeah.
I think
So,
we
like,
should,
that's one of those cards.
We should probably start taking
So
questions from the chat now. I reckon. Like, I just saw one that says, "Are floodgates good for the game?" Then,
No.
I think
that's
to
another card.
to some degree, like I think
all
like
floodgates.
there's some certain floodgates that can be good, like a floodgate like Valkyris that says, "Okay, you can't OTK me." That sort of floodgate.
That's like a battle. That's like a battle trap or a hand trap. That's a difference.
It's not floodgate.
Yeah, no, like
No,
what-
but like I think
the answer is
there's some cards that
No.
say you can't do something that are fine, like you
That
can't
doesn't make
kill
it a
me.
no.
floodgate.
That's exactly what it means.
Valk says end the battle
Oh.
phase. Valk says end the battle phase under a certain condition, whereas a floodgate is very accessible and it prohibits a mechanic for a turn.
Yeah, a card
Like-
that says you can't play is stupid.
No, but
I mean, if we're gonna get into semantics of the definition of a floodgate, like we might as well just establish that. Like, I think a floodgate is something that stops a specific mechanic from working indefinitely.
Anything.
Indefinitely is the key point there.
Yeah.
potentially, yeah. But I think it's in context of like a modernized game with like how fast things can be. Like, you can't afford to lose tempo in this game. So a draw is effectively like a floodgate, or a barrier is like a floodgate, where you forfeit tempo, and you have to, facilitate something of a similar level to your opponent, so that you don't get like blown out.
Yeah,
Guy
so
home
I guess
watching, the guy home watching's just just
Galaxy
trying to watch
guy,
me
yeah.
brick versus galaxies.
yeah, so like back onto the list. I think like all those cards, all like floodgate cards need to go.
Yep.
Anything in the extract that interacts with the main deck should probably go.
That's a fucking huge
literally
list.
like I want Yu-Gi-Oh to be like imaginary Yu-Gi-Oh where you like can't interact with the deck, basically. But like I'm fine with how the game. That like this is just my dream, right?
Got a question.
But
here.
as for, like, I guess
what-
everyone's touched upon banning cards, but like I guess cards going off the list is an argument.
So if somebody wants, to
I
I think
want
there's like a
Sure.
load of ban cards that aren't completely fair, right? Like why is Tribe banned in 2018?
I mean,
I mean,
it's
Tribe coming back wouldn't exactly fix the format though.
No,
Yeah.
but like why is it not a 3?
Because
someone just said
apparently, Jeff Jones said that they only can like take off and do there's a card count for how many changes they can make on the list. So rather than bring back a card that doesn't do anything, who keeps moving?
Flat.
It's you, Billy. Stop it.
Hey,
I'm
I'm
so-
not dead.
you're probably faffing around with.
Yeah, you're like,
it's
ow.
definitely.
yeah, please stop.
So like apparently they can only change. There's only a certain number of cards they can change on the list at any given time. So rather than like bring back a card that's like obscure and doesn't do anything.
What do you mean?
I don't think there's a certain amount, right? Because like if you look.
Oh
at,
no,
the
like this is
Dragon
what.
Rules format-
No, I heard a rumor like from like this is on that Jeff Jones AMA thing. He said that like apparently there's like a select number they're given, like you can only like, let's say they can only change like 10 cards on the list.
It's very
um,
arbitrary because we know it's not true because like with Dragon Ruler BANLIST was like the biggest ever. It was like 30 cards got banned or something. Or
But that's probably because they were changing the format of the list,
Yeah, then
as
you do
opposed to like the format has been the same for how many years now?
But like, what I don't understand
Bye,
Well,
Billy.
Bye,
when
Bill.
they make the ban list, like in Dragon Ruler format, they look at the thing and go, "Holy shit! All these cards are insane. We have to get rid of all of them." And they ban like 12 cards. And then they look at like last format and they were like, yeah, this Goki deck seems fine. And like all these other cards seem fine. We'll just
Let's
ban,
just get rid of
like,
Invoker and Goblin.
We'll ban Invoker Goblin, Samsara Lotus, and
Yeah, it's very
They-
obscure.
they ban some.
The
And
fucking
That one.
Irrelevant.
the Phoenix cluster thing.
No, that was the ban list before. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was before. That was when they
Okay.
banned Astrograph, I think.
Let's
We
try and
have
get
to
through
know.
more of these questions.
Yeah, let's get through
So
questions.
what is your opinion on hand traps? Are they just annoying, or are they needed to stop all the OGK big links? I like
I
hand
like-
traps like Ash. They're just
Yeah,
generic
yeah.
1-for-1s, and Ogre.
Yeah, Ash
Yep.
Ogre.
Ash, Ogre,
These
and
are-
Bell
those are
are
great.
just really nice hand traps.
Ash Ogre Bell and
Stuff like Droll and Cherries are just fucking ignorant.
Drill Cherries Max.
Because you have to play around them as well. Like there are those things where it's like, okay, well I have to anticipate the Ash because he's got like, and you can like play the probability game as well. Like he's got like 4 cards in hand, so like you've already got like 2 hand traps, so I have to play around Ash and this and the other, and like certain combos have been designed to like play through. So remember when with Goki being a deck, it was like, unfortunately, this is a bad deck. So for a good example, it's like, okay, this combo plays through Ash and Droll, like, or this one plays through Ash, and but I like those hand traps. I don't like hand traps like Cherries because I think like Cherries is a very polarizing card.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very like hit and miss, and like Yeah, I don't think it was very necessary for the game.
It's like,
I also-
imagine
I
if you
also
just
think
play in
that-
Burning
I mean,
Abyss and you just want to like enjoy your Burning Abyss strategy, and then your Dante gets cherries. You're not doing anything
Yeah.
unfair. You're just trying to play Burning Abyss, but you just can't play it now because you've just lost Dante.
But it also means that the mirror's fucked as well, because like any time that you go first in the mirror match, you now have to like try and play the game without potentially like a core part of your deck, which I understand is like, that's a deck building decision that you make. But like, it's very like, I don't know, it almost like completely removes the idea of resource management when it removes such an integral part. It just like it destroys your chance of like actually playing the game.
Yeah. I think another huge thing with cherries is that I think Konami likes cards like cherries because
Billy, your audio is like trash.
Yeah, Billy is so
Yeah.
quiet.
You're like underwater.
I think now better
Yes.
is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Konami like cards like cherries because like they print the best decks, extra deck monsters, a secret rare,
No,
and then
of
people will
course,
need it for their cherries.
because like not everybody's good at this game, so they're trying to accommodate for people that are not good at this game but want to win because they want to floodgate people. And unfortunately,
But, like,
that's a
if you
good
go-
majority
if you
of the
say-
player base.
Like, give me a deck that has a good secret rare, like Electromite, right? It was like in that format. It was like, okay, so you want to play Electromite, you want to play Pentagon Magician, buy a load of boxes and get 3 Electromite for your deck. And then it's like everyone else, you still have to buy 1 Electromite for your cherries, right? So like that's insane
That is
for Konami
sly,
if they
that
have a
is
card.
quite
Such
sly.
genius.
If they have a card in their card pool that says, reveal this card that you have to possess, you have to financially invest in, that you can dump
Yeah.
your opponent's turn. That is insane for them because they're
Oh,
gonna
right.
sell.
I guess cherries
Yeah,
are
of
never
course.
going to get banned then, so I guess we're stuck
Billy,
with
you have a big brain and an even bigger deck.
it.
Both those statements are true.
I actually have like a really, really strong opinion about hand traps, and like I think one of the most common arguments is that hand traps "quote unquote" ruined Yu-Gi-Oh, and I don't think they did, but I think that the coming of age of hand traps is like the one of the biggest signs that the game was like getting really bad, because the necessity of having to
traps.
play hand traps was that
It just
It basically-
catered to the rest of the
Well,
cards.
it basically meant that they were power creeping their own mechanic of trap cards, because that's what
Yeah.
hand traps are. They're not monsters; they're trap cards that can be activated without being set and
Yeah.
aren't susceptible
Yeah.
to removal.
I mean, you
And
say
it's to
that,
force through your combo, and it was made to stop the crazy combo decks, because you can set a trap to stop the combo decks turn 1 if you lost the dice roll. So I think that while hand traps didn't ruin the game, they are very much a like symptom and like a band-aid for the game becoming so powerful that you need to play these cards.
You say
That
that's
are
just
basically
Konami's
trap cards.
excuse just to power creep their own game because they're like, oh, it's fine. We can just print out more hand traps.
Yeah, like even all the good traps in recent years, like what are like some good traps in recent years? Strike, that's it. The other good traps are like Impermanence and Evenly, which for all intents and purposes aren't really traps
Yeah.
in the
Well,
conventional
last
sense.
time- I think the last time traps were properly utilized, like I may be wrong. Oh no, they were used in Zoo, like because people were using stuff like
Yeah.
Torrential, like last year.
And like
Yeah.
Heavy Storm Duster and stuff.
The year before that. Yeah,
Zoo
yeah. and
feels
we-
like a fucking eon ago, man.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
like a year ago from now. Like,
Do you know what I
um,
realized about it? Zoo was 4 of Zoo. Like I didn't realize.
yeah,
there's
there's
that
4
many.
formats. Yeah.
before that, like in the like 4-deck format, like the only other traps that we saw were like main deck anti-spell. What else was the other thing? Main deck
Big brain.
anti-spell, fucking
Genius.
Fogblade, and like you said, Strike.
Like, see
So,
when
like-
Bottomless stopped being staple, like you knew the game just became really like powerful. Like, why did Bottomless stop being good? You know, it's kind of sad.
Be like, the traps you would play would be like engine card ones, like Fogblade and the Paleo traps,
Yeah.
or just free Strike that people just threw in the deck because Strike was just that good.
Like I remember, like when I first started playing the game, like I'd watch like deck profiles of decks that I would consider building and stuff, like random Black Wings and stuff, and then they would always get to like the traps and be like, Bottomless Torrential, Staples,
Yeah.
of course, you play it and everything.
Yeah.
Like imagine like that was the case. Like that's just never gonna be the case again. Like
No.
Bottomless Torrential Staple in which deck? You know what I mean? Like,
Or how about the old trendy of Reborn Dark Hole Heavy?
Yeah.
Like,
I think,
Like,
to be fair, like
This
Reborn's
modern day
good.
Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just free ash now, innit? Like people just throw free ash in everything. So,
Yeah,
it's
like
really
that's your like staple like purple card now. It's like
Yeah.
3 ash, maybe a bell, depending on the.
good. Here's an interesting question then. I wonder what your opinions are of this. So one guy goes, "Am I the only one who thinks evenly matched is one of the dumbest cards ever made?"
Like,
Nah.
like evenly isn't good right now, but it actually is like fucking ridiculous, right? Like it's not good at the moment, but you can't say that evenly isn't just completely busted.
Yeah.
card's
it's
fine,
really
bro.
good, but it also facilitates how your deck is built.
I think in a
One of these
slow
How though?
in a
And
slow
also
format,
facilitates how you have to play
evenly
around
could
it.
potentially be like really unhealthy. Like imagine if like your typical player was to just like set a bunch of like not even proper powerful back row, and then you pass, right, and then like you're playing the mirror match, and then they just go evenly matched, and they just got rid of like 4 of your like back row, which you're just gonna use the 1-for-1 with your opponent, not to do anything unfair, and you've just lost because evenly just is basically the heavy storm of slow formats.
Well, I think what like even in that, in a situation where it's a slow format, why do you have to throw these cards into the board? Like literally at London, the card I played around most was evenly matched.
I suppose that's right. Like,
I suppose.
if the format's slow enough, like I guess you can play around it.
Yeah. And like I've been playing Altergeist in Sky Striker, and whenever I do get evenly matched, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. You have all your cards in hand.
There will be a time where it is just fucking horseshit. Because reading it, you just think, fucking hell. Like, look at the state of
I
it.
know. I think it's a really good card. I just don't think like it's as dumb as that guy said it was.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen like evenly's been like quite a win button, but I think like it's almost like justifiably a win button. I'd never like evenly someone and then go on like, oh yeah, but they work so hard to accumulate all that advantage.
Yeah.
Like, the only
Yeah,
time
it's
where I've
never like,
evenly
this was
somebody...
really grindy.
The only time where I've evenly somebody that I win was against, like, Draco back in Pendulum format.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because Draco
Exactly.
had to put everything onto the board because they played card Demise. And that's just like,
Yeah,
well,
like,
that's just what you gotta do.
Yeah.
I would say ban kind of demise.
Oh yeah,
Oh
shit.
yeah, I hate that
Just
card.
get rid of that.
I think
Fucking
it's fine if you ban all that floodgates, right?
Yeah,
Why
I
isn't
think
it
Demise
easy?
is fine
Battle
with that.
traps?
Flip it. Yeah.
Nice compulse.
I mean, it was cool as fuck in that, like, you know, in a paleo deck back in like last February. Do you mean like over a year ago, or nearly 2 years ago? Joshua Schmidt.
Joshua Schmidt,
Joshua
please.
Schmidt.
Paleo strategy.
Mm.
60 cards.
60 cards.
Desires into demise.
How many people are in this
Whoa.
call, Gallo? I don't know, like 5.
I don't know.
Do you guys have any closing statements before I just finish off?
Gallo sucks at cube.
Gallo is cute.
I'm gay.
You are.
Please, Konami, we love your game, but can you just make things like slower?
Yeah,
Bring me
like,
back to the game, innit?
Please just get rid of
Bread.
Firewall, for God's sake. Slow down
subscribe.
links, please.
Don't hit Gemini FTK smiley face so I can play it.
Creevers on YouTube.com.
Subscribe to Darren Stevenson on YouTube.com.
Subscribe
Yes,
to
please.
FARFA.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. This was the BANLIST
Subscribe
prediction
to
video,
FARFA,
I
wow.
guess. We went off on a tangent for quite a lot of things. And
Sad
thanks a lot.
face.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Brad.
More
Bye-bye.
ads. More ads.
Well,
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to check out more of my content that's hovering around me. Ooh. And also, do you like pretty cards like these? We'll get them even cheaper at Jacob's eBay store with promotion coupon, you guessed it, MAXC5. Follow the URL link below in the description, which will take you to his eBay shop, and the offer will already be applied. So just spend over £5 and you'll be given 5% off your next order. So be sure to click the URL and have a check of his store and see if there's any shiny cardboard that you want to purchase for yourself. And for now, here's a picture of my cat sleeping.